that has. And
Just reaching.
anyway, attendance is low, which is discouraging, but thank you all, everybody, for being here also online. If we could start with the over prayer, I have helped.
Good afternoon, everyone. In view of our Father and God, we come thanking you for today, thanking you for every person that has assembled in person and virtually to learn more about our community preparedness. We ask that you continue to keep us safe and harmed, and that you empower us to do the work we need to do in the safety of the community.
Amen. I'm Michelle. If you could help me with the flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Another challenge in Texas.
One faith, under God, one indivisible.
All right, I'll start by introducing the board. And I'll begin speaking first because otherwise I forget. I've been known to do that. But anyway, I'm going to speak. That's, and I've been involved with CRTF since the beginning. I'm like the only founding father left. This thing sticks to my fingers for some reason. It also talks to me loudly. And so thank you all for your support, and I'm also looking at it. Let me start with Mr. Earl. Earl Bentley. He's Vice President. Secretary Lynn. Jane. Leroy, Treasurer. And then Susie Cotton, board member at large, and then the floor chair, board member. Some of these people have been involved with this for a very long time. And the board is really working hard. It's an everyday thing. We're proud of where we are now. There's years of experience. So there's a website that is really fantastic. And then again, we've got the uniforms, these things, courtesy of the Justice Department. But all of this combined now gives us the opportunity to look the community in the eye. Anyway, thanks to Lily. I'll let you introduce yourselves. Mrs. President, when it starts first.
Kathy Lemon. Pam McNair. Past president.
As president.
It's in my right arm.
There we are. And thank you for your financial help. This organization does not need a lot of stuff. The stuff that we offer is basically the talent. Let's call it that, of our interns. They are not members. There are no dues. It's a partnership. The quality of our product that we deliver to the community is totally that partnership with. Also, I want to mention it before, turn it over to Brian. We rolled out an app and for the logo for it. We decided, we have decided on the logo and then go on our website. And I really think it's a key for the community emergency where we can find where the haves and the have-nots can do this. So we can't wait to roll it out because the season is upon us. So anyway, anything you want to bring up before we go to the program? Yes. All right, fine. Oh, this is my friend for we've known each other for a long time. All right, let me introduce our speaker. Ciaccio is the division manager of public safety and emergency And if they have the emergency, management coordinator that we used to have with system. So we'll, more likely than not, we will talk about COVID, what has it done in the industry, how was it resolved, maybe even, what I in particular am interested in is what will it do to us, going into the future traveling. Like 9/11 changed travel. I think will change it. So I would like, for you to address that. Goodness, I'm not going to do all of your stuff. But you do have 25 years of experience aviation and in that the emergency response. And so we look forward to help us block our needs. Thank you all for the opportunity. I always enjoy doing this. I'm hoping for many years and stuff. I guess one of the only good things, I want to say good things came out of, I don't know if it's good thing that came out of the COVID responses when just a small story, when this happened, I remember getting a phone call from the governor's office, the colonel of the state police, my director, and said, the mayor of Houston, this was all happening, and the airport's going to be a major factor. Guess what? For the next year, or however long this is going to last, you're in charge of the town board, you're in charge of this, and best of luck to you. So that was the conversation. And I have a good rapport with the mayor, Turner. First with Frankie C, pronounce my last name. Even after all seriously, it's like, Frankie C, I got trust in you. Good luck. Don't call me if there's a problem. So, but as a result of it, thanks for that introduction. I wanted to become the director of public safety.
All right.
So it's a good thing, but you got to do something right along the way. So anyway, just to give you a little background, as we said to you before we start, me is I've had over 25 years in emergency management, but during those 25 years, I'm actually 30 years in federal law enforcement. I just retired several years ago from the FBI, where I was in charge of their aviation division, the major investigation division, their forensic division there. And I was the agent in charge of Bush Airport. And at that time, it was just like, you know what? I've done my time. I think it's ready to retire. Did 2 years, 2 years staying at home. And my wife was like, you better do something, find something great. And we got a phone call from the airport. So anyway, it's been a great career. I had a great opportunity. Everything I've done all the years has brought me to where I am today. So with that said, let's kind of give you a little bit, I know with the airport being right here in your backyard, everybody was used to flying at both Bush Airport and Hopper Airport. But as you know, the city of Houston has 3 major airports, Bush, and also Ellington Airport. A lot of people don't realize that Ellington is a city airport, but it's a tribe, we call it tri-base airport, that it has U.S. Coast Guard, U.S. military, and the city of Houston. We are actually the landlords of that. But we're really proud to say, it's no longer called just Ellington Airport, it's also called Ellington Airport and Houston Spaceport. We just broke ground just last week, third space aircraft designer and builder. Just like the Galaxy and Challenger, with being there part of NASA, it's a great fit. We're the only airport in the country that has this capability, so we're very to be a part of that. Give you a little bit. This is all going to lead to where we're going. A little bit about Houston Airports. We are the 4th largest airport in the United States, or the busiest, I should say. Prior to COVID in 2019, we were averaging about 75 million passengers a year. We were actually only increased to about 125 million passengers a year. And then we all know COVID happened, and everything took a stop with that. We are still the only airport in the United States that services all habitable continents non-stops.
nonstop flights to all habitable continents around the world. We're also the gateway to South America as well as Latin America. And believe it or not, one of the things that we found interesting was we thought the trend was that airports were not going to come back to full swing until about 2024. That is just not true. We're pretty much almost getting to pre-COVID or beyond pre-COVID numbers. So 2022 has been a booming year so far for us. We anticipate that we're going to exceed our numbers immensely. Believe it or not, during COVID, there's a lot of things that changed. I'll go through, but one of the things that we really thought in Skytrax is an aviation or just like JE and so forth. But we were really proud to find out that Hobby Airport became the only 5-star airport in the United States. There's no other 5-star airport but that Hobby, and we're the only city in the United States that has a 5-star and 4-star airport in the United States. And to give you a comparison, 5-star airports in the world, only 7 5-star airports in the world. Hobby gave one of those. Really looking at that. And that goes for you. Everybody who travels and everybody who spends time there. But we are City of Houston, the only 2 major airports, the only city again that has top 100 airports in the city. So it's something that we're really proud of. We move forward on. We're always kind of give that a little bit in there. My marketing people kind of throw that in there. A lot of people just don't. So let me tell you a little bit about. So all of you, we've all been through this. We've all been through the pandemic, and we're still not 100% of it, but we're pretty getting close to it and stuff like that. We're no longer in a pandemic; it's getting into an endemic situation that we're on the tail end of things. We're in it's greater than 80% of the population of the state is now being vaccinated with our boosters and so forth. The sad thing, I don't know if you heard yesterday, yesterday we reached 1 billion deaths in the United States, which is very sad. Unfortunately, that we actually had dropped tremendously from there. And I don't think there's a person in this here today or anywhere that we don't haven't spoken to that. And it doesn't mean somebody that was affected by it, somebody who found it, so forth. As Philippe knows, I spent 1 month in the hospital and I see on benefit. Very fortunate that. However, it developed some complications. Philippe was well without that. It just never thought I'd say today. I could stand up here and present this to you. So one of the things that we talk about is that moving forward in our post-recovery phase with the airports is one of the big things of that interval confidence dialogue. And it's not just the airports, it's our airlines, it's all our partners that are there. We want to be able to provide that confidence to the passengers, our employees, our staff, our stakeholders, everybody. Is it safe to fly? What do we do then? And there's some things I'm going to explain to you what the change that we made. Unfortunately, just like 9/11, we had major changes at the start of TSA. There's going to be change moving forward. And not for the bad. There's some very good things that would help us along. Our objectives at the airport and many other money things we want to reduce as much touch points as possible. If you go into the airport recently, you're starting to see a lot of things becoming virtual. A lot of things that you're doing through the phone. We're going ticketless. We're actually moving forward now in no longer a passport to travel. We mentioned facial recognition, other things that reduces the contact that we could have with customs immigration agents and contact that we have with other employees and so forth. We're just working step by step. I'm not saying 100% of it is good, but it's a step forward, and there's going to be a trial too. So we just basically, our whole goal is to return our passenger travel back. I will tell you in all honesty, our passenger travel or family travel has returned, if not better, stronger than it was prior to COVID. What we're seeing a decline right now is business travel. The big business travelers have realized that they can do a lot more things with Zoom and Teams and other things that they're finding, hey, we don't have to spend all this money to travel. I agree with that, don't and disagree with it. I'm from a generation where I believe in that personal contact. I think feedback and the team is good. And I was told this the other day, I can't refer to people of the younger generation as millennials anymore. Apparently that's an insult to them. So the younger generation that used to using all this high tech, they're like, I think many of us from the generation that like that personal contact and something that's what we're seeing more of. So hopefully we'll get back to that. So let me kind of give you a little bit perspective of how severe things were. And I think many of you have seen it on the news every day. Keep in mind that it's not just passenger traffic that was affected, it's commerce. Okay, here's the airport, which is the fourth busiest airport for in the United States. It's the fourth busiest port to receive cargo. So when that was not only passenger traffic, cargo traffic was that's why we're seeing a lot of the ripple effect that we said with store shelves not being stocked, cargo just wasn't coming in. There weren't employees to work on that, they couldn't know more home planes and so forth. It's kind of give you some perspective. Our passenger travel dropped that was amazing. We literally had to not close, but suspend the operation of several of our terminals. We consolidated terminals and so forth. It has been reported that the worst day of travel was actually April 14th, 2021, where only 2,145 passengers were the Houston airports, both hobby and we average about 85,000 a day. So we'll drop down to 2,100 on that same day. The national, nationwide, out of all 453 commercial rated airports in the United States, less than 200,000 people flew the skies in a 24-hour period. Down, we averaged about a little more than 200 passengers a day. Tremendous. We're very fortunate that the City of Houston's aviation department was sitting in a good financial situation. At one point, we don't have to lay off our employees. We worked on concessions with our airline carriers, with our concessionaires, in that we reduced fees. We didn't charge them gate fees, landing fees, things like that during this period because they were not flying planes, and they were not getting the passenger count. Their revenues were way down, so we could work concession with that. We probably estimated that overall we lost about $100 million. That's considering everything with concessions, airline fees. But we were okay. We felt that it was important to show good fellowship with our. Yes.
What was the reason?
What was the reason for what?
The low,
Oh, on April 14th?
yes, sir.
Nobody seems to know. It was just, I think during that period that became 2021, April, in that time period there, it was kind of, we were at a point where when we look back at statistics with the CDC and everything, that was when the nation was at its highest peak of just about every state was in the red zone. It was that reached our peak, and then we started descending from there. It's the only thing that anybody can determine. There's no clear one point why that day in particular. Okay. So keep in mind too, April 14th, I believe, was like a Tuesday or Wednesday. Those typically are low flying days anyway, but I think with COVID and everything, there just was nobody flying. So yeah, good point. So our revenue was about, but we were okay with that. We were okay. We were financially stable at the airport that we could have gone 2 years without any receivables, anything without, laying off anybody without major staff change. So everybody worked, which was unusual. A lot of people lost jobs, a lot of people were laid off, and so forth. So at least that both airports, all three airports, everybody continued to work now. So that was a benefit to all of us. The sad part that we saw was less than over 150% solved airplanes. Everything because it was a new environment and we had masks that people had to wear. People were not comfortable. Rules were different from one airline to another. These were all federal mandated rules. And one of the things is, we saw this later on where people started getting vaccine boosters. Why do I still wear a mask? Why do I still need to do that? Well, because we're federally mandated, controlled by the, although we're a airport, we have federal rules that we have to follow. And that was through the Department of Justice, Department of Homeland Security, and CDC. So we saw an increase in assault, mainly on flight attendants, and that went up tremendously. We literally, on a daily basis, get called to one or two aircraft that passenger struck flight attendant disobeying order. Crews were given orders that they automatically had to turn the aircraft, divert, or land. So we saw a lot of increase of diversion of aircraft in with people not being able to drink on board planes. People were sneaking in alcohol. We saw a large presence of that. And so with this, things were starting to slowly get out of control. A lot more liberties were given to flight crews in how they were going to handle these situations. Basically, there was a zero tolerance on everything. Somebody got out of the room, reviewed the initial by the crew to stop or change with the car to wear their mask. Like I said, they automatically wear their. So we saw we started changing how people was. This was affecting people. And we're not just saying this was everybody from professional people to well-educated people. People were placed in the environment was unknown to everybody. Some people just didn't like to be told to do things. Some people just, they felt their freedoms and their liberties were being taken away. And in all honesty, they weren't. We had an obligation to worry about not only your role, but what about others around you. So there was a lot of debates going on. Of course, airline industry was thrown in the middle. During this period too, we had DPS troopers. It's the first time ever in the history of here in Texas where DPS troopers were deployed to the airports. Stuff at one time we had about 200, 300 DPS troopers that their job was when passengers came off of aircraft from places like New York, Georgia, New Orleans. There was a select group of cities. They were interviewed by DPS troopers. They could fill out cards of where they were going to be. They would follow up by troopers to ensure that they were being quarantined and so forth. It was totally unprecedented. Never have we ever done anything like that. It was Texas, New York, and two other states that did this. But we were here trying to protect the citizens of Texas, and specifically that the government did. That benefited about 3-4 months. So these are things that we never ever thought of life that we would see. Sad part is being, and I was a former trooper before I became an FBI agent. And so the thing is, I sympathize and understood with them. But the sad part is people were reading that here's our troopers are in brown uniforms and they're starting to equate things back to World War II errors, showing their papers doing this. It was really creating a very hostile environment. So we, it was something that needed to be done. Glad it was done to help tremendously. Another thing was that we do flights were completely there were some flights that were going out with 1 or 2 people on them. We started consolidated flights. Everything at one point we had over 167 aircraft parked at called Bush the airport. These were planes that there was no need for them to be flying. So basically they sat there. Some of them were put out into the desert. And I'll go back to why that created a little bit of an issue. And so we started consolidating flights, started consolidating aircraft and so forth, so that there was no need to maintain all this aircraft anymore. So it's kind of look at yes.
How much of it requested the DPS
No, it's the government of Texas. Yeah, exactly. So this is kind of an interesting chart per se, and we're still in the process of analyzing a little bit. But if you look here, you have the blue scale that Ciaccio is 2020, the orange 2021, and the gray 2022. And if you look at it, it's quite interesting in the sense that it shows a very unique pattern all 3 years where our peaks and valleys were. And when we look at this, is obviously you can see the summertime we had now these positive cases, these were airport employees. Anybody who worked at the airport, I would get notification that they would early on that they would test positive. We had to do contact tracing, all this sort of stuff. Then what was happening was just being reported to my office as far as who in the airport. This is everything from airline employees to HAS employee, contractor, TSA, CBP. The three biggest, following about the two biggest agencies that had the highest number of employees out due to COVID, which probably not be a surprise to me, was actually TSA, the CBP. And why those two? What do they deal with passengers every single day, more so than airlines. If passengers coming from foreign countries, you have CBP officers are handling their passports, papers, things like that. TSA, they're going through the checkpoint. They have the highest. Currently, right now, and if you see, I don't have the month of May. That's spiking up real high right now, stuff like that. It's strictly all this employees. So what we can see here is we saw how things were starting to increase again in the summertime months, and then again in the when we do start getting into the fall, winter, and early spring months, we start seeing peaks and things drop down. You can see here at 2021, we see a little bit of numbers decreasing. That's when vaccines started coming out and so forth, and we started seeing that. But I think the correlation here is that definitely we'll know going on from here that we know our summer months are going to be really bad and our winter months are going to be really bad. So we just have that's something. This is only one part of it. CDC and everybody was constantly figuring all this out, and we'll see what comes in the future. So where are we going? What are the things that we're doing? So one of the changes that they're going to start seeing, like I said, we're starting to see ticket lists. No longer you're seeing less and less ticket agents. No longer everything is going to be on your phone. Everything is through apps and so forth. They don't have to give you a paper ticket. They won't give you a paper ticket. So we're seeing changes there. Flying on planes nowadays. It used to be that you would hand them a credit card if you wanted to buy something for it. No longer is that allowed. You have to have everything downloaded before you go. Announcements are being made and so forth. So we're starting to see that we're going more into a very paperless, moneyless transaction. There are some concessionaires that will not accept cash. So we're starting to see a big change in those things. Travel business, like I said, is our challenge right now, and we're trying to get that travel business. Keep in mind, Bush Airport, about 60 to 70% of that travel is all business. It's all business people that travel through this airport. Has more families that go through this. So that's going to be challenging for us as trying to get that out. We now have at Bush Airport, we have testing clinics. We have one on-site testing clinic that if you need to get COVID tested, get that. I think that's going to continue for time being. I get asked the question all the time, how much longer if you're traveling back to the United States, do we need to get tested to come back into the United States? Unfortunately, I'm gonna tell you that's probably gonna last a bit, another year till you feel comfortable enough that anybody coming from a foreign country into the United States has to be COVID tested within 24 hours of arrival. And that's something that's gonna stick with us for a little time. Okay? When you're traveling through, you're gonna see differences with signage, communicating symptoms for COVID-19, what people need to be aware of, so forth, guidance in getting tested. So our big thing, we're still promoting health awareness to passengers, letting them know that, hey, we're not completely out of the woods, although we're laxing, and not laxing, but we're suspending. That's a term you're going to hear a lot, is the word suspension. We are not doing away with, we are not discontinuing, we're suspending. And what that means from a government standpoint is when you suspend something, it gives me the opportunity to enact it right away. I don't need another policy, I don't need congressional approval and so forth. But we're just suspending, not suspending. But, okay.
I had something there, but I lost it.
You'll see on our training. I will be honest with you. What we see now, this is very, very interesting. When we suspended the mask mandate on first, we thought for sure that people were just going to come not wearing. Still, probably about 50% are still wearing masks. We're very surprised by it. And you know, all the cartoons, as was described to me, when I got COVID and I was in the hospital, the doctor said to me, "You work in a giant petri dish," and it's true. You know, we don't know what goes on. We estimated at any given time there was approximately 10% of the population walking through the airport were positive. That's based on our CDC this time. The giant petri dish that we have there. So we're stressing it. We're not pushing our employees because I think people at this point are tired of hearing it from us. We're all adults, but if we see we're limiting people on trains, the amount, and we're watching it closely. We still have a responsibility that we want to make sure that people follow, still maintaining signs and so forth. Some of the things that you don't see behind the scenes, it's really that we can do on a basis is actually we have intense cleaning. A lot of it is done at night when passengers aren't there. And what we do is we fumigate areas. We'll go in and do deep cleaning to offices, to actually gate areas and so forth. They're turning out more and more with chemicals and products today that are killing not 100%, but a good 90% of the virus. We've installed something that remain in place is hand sanitizers. We can't stress that enough. And we have not only just the bathroom, in the hallways, by the gates, by the ticket counters, everywhere you go, we do this sanitizer. And that's our obligation to do. As I said, the custodial staff, the amount of money again we're spending into it, to us, we've increased our operating budgets, but to us, it's important. We have to do a part physically to really make sure that we've expanded the contractor, but again, the budget in there getting more higher tech on. One of the things that you don't see that one of the biggest touch points is escalators, elevators. So what we have done, all our escalators you see, next time you go, look, when the escalator handrail comes down before it moves around, you see an orange yellow box. You might see a blue or green light. What it is, that's infrared, that is actually killing any bacteria that's on there. It's been proven to work. We spent about $25,000 per box to put on all this escalators. We now have self-cleaning touch buttons on elevators. Again, large expense has gone. So We feel this is something that, again, we want to build that confidence back in those, in our passengers to come out so that they know they're safe to travel. Our outside parking, it's a requirement now, every 4 hours, they have to go through a deep clean. We try to limit the number on there, and that's working fairly well. Passengers are understanding and so forth. So that's another big thing. Our rental cars, each rental car agency has specific guidance that they do for their own companies, and they work coincide with us. What you'll find when you go there, you'll find a lot more employees are wearing masks, only because, again, they're not required to, but they feel because they're around the general public, so much that they want to. You'll see a lot more employees still continue to wear masks and gloves. Our plexiglasses are still, in front of a lot of counters. We've actually gone to permanent fence now. They've designed them so they look like they're pieces of furniture and it looks a lot more inviting than just sticking a piece of glass up there. Again, like I said, these are things that I think now are going to be part of the future. Our passenger interaction areas, like I said, we have the plexiglass area. We're looking at the ticket counters, customs booth, gate area. We're going more into facial recognition areas. We're going to touch with some tickets. If you notice, if anybody's traveled, this was a bold move made by United. If you travel in United, there are no longer customer service agents anymore. Everything has gone virtual. You'll see them at the initial counter when you come in, but before, if you had a delayed flight, canceled flight, you went to a customer service booth area behind the ticket in the gating areas, those no longer exist. Everything is now that we can virtually talk to somebody. Again, I'm not a fan of that. That's something that people want to do. So,
People like me, I know, I'm a professional and I know a dozen people my age who have never had a cell phone and have no plans to have one. So that means we can't fly, is that correct? Pretty much.
very, very good point. And that's one of the debates that we go. Yes, you look at a generation, anybody probably born or anybody born before the 90s probably or 2000 are not being unaccustomed to having the cell phones and this and that. I mean, I was just talking to somebody the other day that I work with, and he still uses a flip phone. So Mike, I will not go to a smartphone, and he's going to have problems because he can't do touchless on there. So yes, your point is well made. Where there's
I can't fly if I don't have a phone.
On some areas.
All right, but I only fly, when I used to fly, I flew United. So if I didn't have a smartphone, I couldn't fly, that's correct?
I wouldn't say 100% that what they do is you can still get a paper. I'm not going to say you're not going to be able to, but they try to discourage you from doing that.
You said there are no people there.
There are people at the ticket counters. It's just at the gates there are people. It's just that if you had, say, for example, your flight was canceled, they would say, hey, go to the customer service booth over there. There are no people there and you do everything on the phone. So yeah, so to answer your question, in some ways, you'll find it challenging. Yes. Yes,
Those are people who used to travel all the time because they were retired and they retired well and
absolutely. And travel is the good thing. Yeah. It's gonna make things a lot more challenging. Absolutely. So our TSA areas again as well. They are pushing for the touchless using your phone. Like I said, you can get a paper, but they're trying to discourage that. They're trying to avoid any contact. You pass the papers or tickets or anything to like us. Our gate area is the same thing, like I said to you. We promote social distance messaging. You can, like I said, they prefer you to use your phone, where you take your phone, you place it on it, and it goes. I will tell you, just about in observing a lot of people that do that, every time the person goes up to put it on there, the screen goes blank. Now they're trying to fiddle around, trying to do it and stuff like that. So yeah, it's creating other problems, another hassle. And, so to say I'm the same generation as you all, it's the younger generation that get upset and mad at you and stuff like that, so there's nothing. These are just things that we're seeing. These are things that we're seeing. Whether it continues, I'm not sure, but these are, what we find in the airline industry, once something starts, it seems to, snowball and it seems to become the trend, is what pretty much happens. Same with our ITT training we've done is normally we've had 2 ITT trainers, as you can see here at, we're adding a 3rd or 4th part, again, trying to spread it out, having more people there, having the trainings run more frequently, so that, we're getting less, we're not getting the compound counselors on there that we thought, we would, that we had before. I mean, I'm sure many of you travel, especially in, many other cities, they'll jam those people in their bags and all. You're starting to see now that, it is less, where people are actually starting to self-distancing themselves, so which is kind of nice. The trains do shut down, this is something new. The downstairs train shuts down every day at 3 o'clock in the morning for deep cleaning and maintenance on it, and it starts up at 5 in the morning. So we've now restricted the trains and the above trains as well, where they're required to do deep ultraviolet cleaning. As I mentioned to you on border patrol, to reduce the congestion, we're asking for, you're going to find a lot more people being, they're encouraging people to get global entry. This way then they can process themselves through without a border agent. We are going to board the facial recognition, things like that. So we're just doing everything we can to reduce the contact with people. They are now in full permanent booths where before, as you can see in this picture, person is slightly open talking to the customs agent. That no longer exists. They are in complete booths with glass protection. Something a lot of passengers don't realize this, but baggage is actually cleaned as well. So before a bag is put on board an aircraft, it is actually sprayed with basically a very generic cleaning product. But actually, that's more for the benefit of the ramp agents that are using the bag. They sweep them, they clean them, and then they process the side. That's something that we continue. So, some things said is we are seeing that things are improving. We want to increase and build that confidence back to our passengers and stuff. But it's going to take some time. Okay, it's really going to take time. If you look here, passenger traffic is still down about 5 to 10% nationwide from 2019. It's increasing, a lot better at it. Again, I think a lot of it we saw this year with shoppers, people think it's going to come back to 2024. I think a lot of people just are like, I'm tired of being home. I mean, it's amazing what we're seeing. People just like, and to be honest with you, plane tickets have increased 40 to 50% more than what they were prior to 2019. The airlines are sadly pushing all these highly expensive back onto the passenger, and yet they're still flying. One of the things that we still see reduction in flights. So I'll give you an example. Typically, you would have 12 flights a day that go from here to Denver. Okay, that's going to reduce down to 7 flights a day. What they're doing is they're starting to consolidate still fill their aircraft. And hopefully that would reduce a lot of cost. So keep in mind, it was actually a study that was done. This was done through the Department of Justice, CDC, and DOJ. People would say to me all the time, is that I am not going up on my plane. It's an incubator. It's this, it's that, it's everything else. Well, actually, it's not. The flow of the air inside an aircraft gets circulated every 60 seconds. They did studies where they actually pumped in the COVID virus into a test aircraft, and they flew they ran for an hour, and 98.9% virus was pulled out of the aircraft. There has not been one single case here in the United States where you have a complete outbreak of the entire. We've seen it in sporting venues, we've seen it in a lot of other places, Congo, but there has not been one proven case where we've had been. So in all honesty, they've changed that the filtration systems on aircraft. They've made them a lot better, and it seems to be working very, very well. Currently, right now, we're averaging about 56 to 70,000 passengers. Hopefully, our numbers will go up. And but since the mask mandate is no longer, our criminal assault rate has gone down 90%. So definitely there was a correlation with the mask and people were getting stuff. So it's really kind of crazy, but it's all over. It's all over the place. So in all honesty, we want to be able to, with the help of you all, hopefully unnecessary costs and that we are doing our part. We're doing our part to make sure that the traveling public is safe and traveling. We can't be 100% doing the best we can. We want to instill that confidence back in you. There are going to be changes. Unfortunately, please encourage your friends, family that traveling is still safe. Transportation. And we're getting there quicker than we expected, but we're getting there. With that, I think it was give you an update on how things are at the airport. Thank you all very much.
Have a question.
Sure.
No, I have a minute. What is that? Say we're gonna assault on the crew.
So assault on the crew is anything from me taking my finger and going like that, me spitting on them, me pushing them out of the way, pretty much any physical contact with that. It's even got to the point, some airlines were using verbal assault, the type of language they use, things like that. Anyway.
Next question. I traveled yesterday from England to IH. And when I checked in Lima, they were requiring double mask. But nobody asked to see my vaccination or my antivenom test, which the requirements I travel, the requirement to travel said I had to do it within 24 hours. So I went yesterday, the day before morning,
Right.
and got the test and had the information, but nobody,
Whatever, because you might tell us there.
pardon,
Whatever. Well,
United.
no, that is a requirement. They have to ask you for that.
I thought they did. Why?
Oh, wait. Did you download everything into your travel ready documents?
Yes,
Okay, there you go.
so they considered it, that was.
Yeah, because they had to see that in order for you to get as far as you did. So yeah,
Okay,
that's that touchless effect.
I had COVID. I'm a volunteer at IH.
Oh, okay.
And in January of 21, I had COVID and didn't know it. All the doctors were saying, oh, you had pneumonia or something like that. It was a couple of months later that I had the antigen. And I was there on the Wednesday afternoons when the Air China flights came in. So I think that's where I've got it. Whatever, but I had it. And the other comments you had up there was the luggage are being wiped down by wipes.
No. There's a spray that they spray over them.
They're spraying.
Yeah, that's.
Okay, I was just wondering who was buying the wipes, whether it was the airline or.
No, we're not buying them. They're not buying. It's a spray that they use and stuff. So yeah.
Okay,
It's part of that. It's part of the valves of the airport that you don't see that goes on. Or we call them little molds that are down there. So yeah, it's that area.
well, I enjoyed the presentation.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you for what you do at the airport and stuff. I know.
I'm just
So I know they're trying to bring the ambassadors back and stuff. Are you
Yeah.
back to working there and stuff now? Are you back working there?
I told her I'm ready to come back.
I heard about 50% are coming back, so I think they want to just make sure they got everything in line for all. of them.
Well, he said we need to take another tour together before,
I'll be honest with you, it's not so much the COVID situation now, if all you've been there, it's the traffic situation. We did take-
The construction, it's the TSA that's holding everybody up, even though the construction is bad.
Yeah, I mean, we're doing everything we possibly can every day. The bewitching hours from 3 to about 9. Okay, depending on what day of the week you travel, and it's mostly international. That's the most impact. The problem that's happening is that I'll share this with you guys, is we put Band-Aids on everything, and we're trying to build a big airport so you have this much space. We're trying to squeeze as much as we can. I think the bottom line is everybody realizes that the city of Houston's ready for a brand new international airport, but unfortunately, there's no city property anywhere. There was talk at one point that they wanted to build Bush Airport event in Conroe. So I think that did not go over very well at all. But here we're isolated. This is the only city property we have to start doing it in eminent domain, and you can't do that. You got a whole, so we're doing the best we can, and what's creating a lot of problem now is they're demolishing portions of it, so they had to close off areas of the roadway because of debris that was falling down. So we're working with them right now that hopefully we can open up another lane. That will make it go. But I will share a secret with you all. If you're traveling out or you're coming back or picking up passengers, have them go to Terminal B or leave or just get dropped off at Terminal B or A. You take the underground train because those areas are not impacted at all. They get a little impacted.
I took my daughter to the airport last Wednesday morning and dropped her off at 6 a.m. And there was a line at Terminal C that was going down the sidewalk outside the airport. Yeah. And when I asked, what is that? It was TSA.
So TSA at that point, yeah, we're working with them right now. TSA at that point, they have 4 lanes, they only keep 2 lanes open. And we were really pushing with them to say, like, guys, to start, the problem.
Came from another terminal and said, are you sure you have the right line?
The problem with them is, like I said, they've got big parties with COVID, so their numbers, just prior to coming here, I got a notice that they had 7 agents out today due to COVID. So it's just all I ask is, and this we tell everybody, is the outcome will be worth it. You see the full airport that it's going to become. With any construction project, until we all have homes, there's always delays, there's always this, there's always that. Just please be patient, we're doing the best we can. And what we're asking now is flying domestic around 3 hours ahead and flying the next 4 hours. Yeah. Any other questions? It's funny you said it. I think that was going to be my biggest thing. Everybody was going to want to know about the construction, the traffic. So
Yeah, that's what
I get that all. I even got it.
and I was like, well, the only problem, I managed to get around all of that. It's just when there's a line outside the airport just to get through TSA.
Yeah, unfortunately, those we don't have control, we're all pushing in to get more control of it. I'll tell you yesterday, I was downtown in the city council and had a council member come up to me. It's like, what are you doing? And it's like, sir, it's not me. I'm doing the best. I'm just one person there. So,
Right.
but anyway, I hope it was enjoyable. Thank you all very much. All righty. I guess this is it for today, unless certainly have more questions. All righty. Awesome. Thank you all for being here. Make a motion to speak to adjourn. I do hope you'll put it on their calendar second Friday
delivering up. Same time, 1 to 2, and same location. All right, and help us spread the word.
You're for coming.
Cute.
Yours.
Yes.
Don't they have a beautification, committee meeting on Thursday? I think it was yesterday.
Thinking of keyword.
Humble.
Oh,